Trying to record. Where's the record option on Zoom?
It's down at the bottom in the...
Oh, there it is.
Individual track going for
there we go.
Flash 190, the New Year's Eve show. And we are live on YouTube.
Trying to record. Live. Where's the record option on Zoom?
It's down.
I'm hearing feedback.
Yep. That just come. I just muted myself too. So, okay, let me just do this.
All right. Do.
As we get things ready for a little YouTube live.
Do. At the link in discussion.
I'm working on that right now.
Let me get some. I'll get the chat to pop out ready. Make sure you set up the YouTube to show both of us at the same time, not who's just talking.
If it'll let me. I don't think it's going to let me switch that. Change the controls. Bear with us one more minute and we'll be good to go on this thing.
There we go. Do.
Oh wait, how's everybody liking this music? Yeah, it's alright. It's the fandom show music.
I love it. It's catchy. We got some stuff here. What's up, Save Grogu? What's up, Nathaniel? Todd, good to see you. What's up?
Welcome to the party.
And there's Dave. What's up? Happy New Year's, bro. Thanks for checking in. Getting ready to start here. Todd, I miss you too, man. How are you? It's going down to Hollywood, man. How's things in the UK, Dave?
Are you ready, Mr. Reitzel?
I am ready. Let's do this.
It is New Year's Eve. It is Culture Clash 190. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. We got some Mandalorian. We got some Wonder Woman. We got some New Year's things to talk about. So without further ado, as I like to say around here, let's do this thing. This is the Culture Clash. It is Culture Clash 190 here on the Fandom Podcast Network. You know, we appreciate those of you in the chat who are joining us live. Hopefully we have some people bouncing in and out throughout the show. We know it's New Year's Eve. Some of you might...
Sorry, I just want to give him a shout out. It's Todd's in there, my buddy Todd Valcourt, Dave Fielding there in the UK, and Nathaniel.
So, yeah, thanks for joining us, guys. Hopefully, like I said, we'll have a few more people bouncing in and out. We know it's New Year's Eve. Some of you are getting where you're going to be. Some of you are already into your New Year's plans. We understand that. But Kevin and I just wanted to have a little fun this New Year's and do a little Culture Clash, talk a little things. We were going to take a break, and then, you know, HBO Max said, oh, we're putting Wonder Woman 84 out on Christmas Day.
Yeah, among other things.
Yeah, well, a little Mandalorian season finale that kind of blew everybody away.
The Cobra Kai announcement for us tomorrow to enjoy, you know, so yeah.
Yeah, so we got all kinds of things going on. Again, thank you to everybody in the chat. Happy New Year to everybody. But before we get started, let's tell you where you can find Culture Clash and all the great shows under the umbrella of the Fandom Podcast Network. Of course, it starts at our homepage at fpnet.podbean.com. Of course, you can download the Podbean app and search for the Fandom Podcast Network and get all of our great shows. Too, as well, you can find us on pretty much any major podcast catcher out there, including iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, so many more. And of course, you follow us on the Facebook page, Fandom Podcast Network, where we try to keep you updated on all the news happening in the world of fandom. You want to send us a message directly, you can always email us at fandompodcastnetwork@gmail.com. You can follow us on social media, also on Instagram, Fandom Podcast Network, or on Twitter at FanPod Network. You can follow me on Twitter, Kyle at AKyleW, or on Instagram, AKyleFandom. Kevin, I know everybody knows where you to find you on social media because you are a star on social media, but give them a reminder anyway.
I wouldn't go there. You can find me, of course, on Facebook and on Twitter and Instagram at Spartan_Phoenix.
And of course, too, if you're watching now, you know about the Fandom Podcast Network new YouTube channel. I mean, it's 3 months. Is it still new? Does it still have that new car smell?
Compared to other people's established YouTube channels, I would say yes. But once we get into 2021, then we're kind of like, you know, yeah. So,
you know what? Did we let the mullet ride in the car and that took out the new in the channel and take out the new channel scent? Was that it?
What?
Did we do it? Yeah, Mr. O'Brien, the mullet. Did we let him ride in the channel? Did he take out the new channel scent?
I guess, yeah. Okay. I see what you're going. Yeah, okay. Yeah, new channel scent. Yes, okay.
Yeah. And of course, too, you know, subscribe. That way you get notified when we do go live, as well as, you know, give us some likes. We always like those. Of course, too, there's a few ways to support the Fandom Podcast Network. Got our TeePublic store. They've had all kinds of sales all year long. I'm sure they will have more coming up. They have all kinds of great gear, including shirts like Mr. Reitzel is sporting right now.
Yeah, look at that. Woo!
You have mugs, you have laptop cases, you even have pillows, including the Grogu approved pillow back behind me. Also a little Baymax back there as well. So, you know, tpublic.com, search Fandom Podcast Network, or type in the show of any name of the show of any of these great shows here on the network. And you'll find the gear. And finally, we love reviews, especially from iTunes or Apple Podcasts. We love those 5-star reviews, of course, but any feedback in general is great because, as always, we're trying to make podcasts to feed your ears. And we want to make sure we're giving you the good stuff, not the 3-day-old leftovers or anything like that. But before we get started, a couple things. First and foremost, Mr. Reisel, did you have a good Christmas?
It's funny. Hold on. I'm replying to here on the chat here about, there's some comments about Star Trek Discovery, the recent episode Wonder Woman 84. But I was asking, what are you guys looking forward to in 2021? And so I'll be talking about there. But Nathaniel says Bond, Black Widow, Fiesta Bowl. Dave says Disney and the Marvel stuff. But did I have a good Christmas? It was just relaxing and uneventful. Like a lot of people, not having people over this year was a big factor. Not having your larger crowds, and groups. And so it was just quiet and uneventful, really, to be honest with you. So it wasn't the best. So, yeah. What about you?
Make the best of this year what we can. Mine was.
I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It sucked. Compared to other Christmases.
Well, yeah, when you compare to other Christmas, mine was okay. I got woke up in the morning by my 2 new kittens, Stripesy and Tummy. They did their first Christmas, so that was fun. I proceeded to take down the Christmas tree the day after Christmas, though, so they could have more free time in other rooms.
Yeah, I left mine up a little bit. I kind of like the way it looks, so I'm going to leave it up at least for a few more days. So,
but I did get this really cool R2D2 stainless steel Tervis mug.
Nice, very nice. That looks sharp. Yeah.
So I was happy about that. Santa
little R2 approves.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Of course, there's plenty to watch Christmas Day as well. We had, besides Christmassy things to watch, you had Wonder Woman 84, you had Soul, you had the Gallery Mandalorian, you had probably a few other things floating around there. Is like, is this the new tradition? Throw everything on a streaming Christmas Day?
Yeah, exactly. I know. By the way, Dave thinks that your kittens are cute, by the way.
Oh, well, I appreciate that, Dave. Kevin has raved to me very much about their cuteness, and I like them too. So
yes. Yeah. So
let's hit a couple things real quick before we dive into the news, because a couple things have happened here right before we went to air, and we typed up the notes. A couple of sad things yesterday. You remember the Breaking movies, Kevin, from the 80s?
Yep. Very well.
Shabadoo.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he passed away yesterday, apparently shockingly and surprisingly so, at the age of 65.
Yeah.
And 2020 and COVID had to get one more in before the end of the year. Unfortunately, we lost Dawn Wells, Mary Ann from Gilligan's Island.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Both of those were tough because I love both those franchises. And who didn't have a crush on Mary Ann? Dawn Wells is very sweet. What I thought was kind of depressing is, in addition to us losing these people right near the end of the year, was I saw like on the news, it was like CNN or something had their in memoriam thing, and it's like, it wasn't even over yet, and there were some people that they missed as well. It's like, with the way this year's going, why'd you wait till it ends if you want to really acknowledge everyone,
Well, not to be on a downer subject, but our friend Lee Fillings, this, of course, your co-host on Blood of Kings, had posted the list of his heroes who had passed away this year, and it was a long list, and there was a lot of names left off of it too. I mean, people I had forgotten had passed away this year. So
yeah,
it's one of those things. I think everything in 2020 just was, because of what's been going on, exaggerated that much more.
Yeah.
So, but you know what? We're going to try to be a little positive around here. It's a little tough. It's going to be a tough New Year's for everybody. We understand that. That's why we're doing this, so we can get together, try to have a little fun, express our emotions, talk about things maybe we're doing some things here. What are we looking forward to for the next year? Things like that. But Kevin and I have some fun things to talk about, and there's even a little news out there. Do you have enough New Year's Eve in you to get this out, Kevin?
Let's news.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it is the end of 2020.
Let's news.
Welcome to the news, the last news of 2020. And it's there's a few interesting things, Kevin. I have one thing.
Question.
Yes, yeah.
Question. The first thing you have listed here is related to one of the things that we're going to be talking about in Buy It, Stream It, or See It, and that's Wonder Woman 84. Should we wait to talk about that news with the review of the movie? I think that might be prudent.
We can mention it here. When I made up the notes, this was the first thing on the notes, and then some other things broke.
Okay.
So
okay.
So let's start with the happy news first. Cobra Kai Season 3 coming early, as in tomorrow, New Year's Day.
Yes. Yeah. They spring that on us.
Yeah. Well, we could use it. Some interesting sidebar to this. I read an article today in an interview with Ralph Macchio, who says there are plans to go 6 seasons of Cobra Kai.
Wow, that's ambitious. But they got a lot of stuff they could talk about, So
yeah,
and I think that the trailer that they showed was a lot. They kind of gave away quite a bit with that trailer for season 3, but I still think they're holding some stuff close to the vest that they're not going to reveal. So.
I think there's some major stuff, but let's talk real quick, Kevin, because Cobra Kai Season 2, the finale had everybody talking. One of the greatest kid fight sequences ever. Might be just one of the greatest fight sequences.
Yeah, and then you had Allie trying to contact Johnny, on the cell phone or something like that too. But yeah, the fight scene was great but horrible.
Yeah,
in the way that it ended. But we were discussing though, because this is on Netflix, that is it going to be weekly, or is it going to all dump at once? I'm assuming the whole season's going to dump at once, right?
That's what I'm going with. Quick shout out to the chat too. A couple of our good friends have joined in. Jennifer, Chef Stomp.
Hey, what's up, Jen?
And one of the hosts of What a Piece of Junk, who still hasn't started Cobra Kai yet, Mr. Scott Botman.
Scott, what is going on, man?
So we've got that. So welcome, guys. Glad you could join us for a little New Year's Eve fun. Scott, stick around because I think you might want to input some things later on in some of our discussions.
That's right.
So
Scott, knowing Scott, I know he would love that show. So give it a shot, Scott. You got New Year's Day tomorrow. Go ahead and start streaming it.
Real quick, this other piece of news we were talking about real quick. We'll get into it more when we do hit Buy It, Stream It, See It, but it is official. Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot are confirmed to return for Wonder Woman 3. We'll talk about the ramifications of that a little bit more when we hit Buy It, Stream It, or See It.
Yep.
But we do have some Mandalorian news too, Kevin. Obviously, we're going to continue Mando Watch a little later on here, but there's been a lot of confusion about Mandalorian Season 3.
Yes.
John Favreau.
I'm still confused, but I think I got it.
Yeah, John Favreau came out on Good Morning America, did a great interview, and kind of cleared up some things. We are getting a new show with a Mandalorian in it on Christmas 2021, but that will be the Book of Boba Fett.
Yes.
Season 3 of The Mandalorian, which hasn't even started filming yet, apparently, is going to be out sometime in 2022. Okay, so because there was a lot of confusion after a certain season finale, Kevin, about what was going to happen.
Right. Yeah, I think what it is both of these shows are going to be using the same filming locations and the what do they call the big round thing? The volume, which has been awesome for filmmaking, and we'll touch on the behind the scenes with the Disney Gallery and Mandalorian. But I think they're going to be probably using the same stuff, so that's why they are filming at different times. They're going to probably film the Boba Fett stuff first, and the Mandalorian will come in, and so it looks like what Mandalorian's. I was originally, we were told it was Christmas 2021, but now it might be like shortly after in 2022.
I'm not sure. We haven't gotten a date. I think the confusion came because if you watch the Disney investor meeting, which we talked about a bunch last episode of Culture Clash, Kathleen Kennedy said season 3 of The Mandalorian was going to be Christmas 2021.
Right.
She couldn't say the Book of Boba Fett was going to be
right
2021. So I think that's where some of the confusion came from there. Also confirmed is the fact that Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau will be writing Ahsoka for Disney Plus. So keeping it tight in the family there. And I believe Dave is also one of the writers on Rangers of the New Republic, because that's also going to take place during the Mandalorian time.
Yeah, and I think I don't know if Ahsoka is going to be filmed in the volume as well, because I know that Cassian Andor is being filmed in the UK, so I don't know where that's going to kind of fill in with the filming schedule. So I think Ahsoka is probably going to be filmed after the Mandalorian is, maybe use the same soundstage and setup.
John Favreau just gets the volume whenever he feels like it. That's
Yeah.
basically the rule.
Well, I know. I think other studios are starting to build their own volumes. I mean, you get to contain yourself and control your environment, which also is great to follow COVID restrictions.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great way to keep everyone together and limited and safe. So
yeah, we're gonna get more into the volume here in a little bit, but there wasn't a lot of news. It's Christmas time, it's COVID time, it's all this other stuff, so the news kind of comes and goes. But we do have, of course, it's the end of the year. We cannot end 2020 without a buy it, stream it, or unsee it. And Kevin, the big one, obviously Christmas Day. We've been waiting a while for this. Actually, a very long while if you're counting the movie, waiting for the movie theater release. Wonder Woman 1984 hit Christmas Day on HBO Max with limited theater release. It actually did good. Apparently, the biggest numbers of any film for an opening weekend since COVID hit.
Yeah, that's not saying much, but yeah,
Yeah,
for theaters that were open. By the way, I just want to say goodbye to Dave. Going to give him credit. He used the word hootenanny, and he's getting ready to enjoy his New Year's.
Hey, he used hootenanny again. Did he copyright that when we weren't looking?
I know, right? But yeah, so Wonder Woman drops on HBO Max, and of course, whatever participating theaters are open. I noticed some friends of mine on social media that actually went to go see Wonder Woman in the theater, and of course, they have those cool limited popcorn buckets, which I miss participating in.
Yeah.
And wasting money on, even though I'm, take them home. What am I going to do with these? But they're just cool because you get like refills with them and stuff like that at the time. So yeah, I assuming you saw it at home and not in the theater, because most theaters around here are closed.
Yeah, pretty much all the theaters. The only theater that I know of, there's an AMC theater that's open, but it's about 45 minutes away from me, and I wasn't making that drive on Christmas Day. I spent time with family and things like that. But I did get home. I have a 4K TV with Dolby Atmos, so I was able to kind of get a good experience of Wonder Woman on that.
Right.
Because they actually surprisingly streamed it as a 4K streaming if you had it available to you.
I have not upgraded to 4K yet. I have not done the Dolby Atmos thing yet. I'm going old school. My sound comes out of my television.
Well, what Kevin isn't telling you, he's actually trying to convert his 8-track so he can get 8-track sound.
I want to actually get a 3D one just to have it, so I could actually see what that looks like before it dies and goes away.
I still do have my Vizio 3D TV. I use it quite a bit. So Wonder Woman 1984, been a lot of anticipation for this film. It was supposed to be one of the big movies of the summer of 2020. Obviously, many delays. Now they put it on HBO Max. Kevin, we've seen how the internet has reacted to this, and we'll get into that. But what was your take on Wonder Woman 1984?
I overall actually enjoyed it. I did. I'll be honest with you though. I did watch it in 2 parts. It just, when it came on, it caught me at a time where I was a little exhausted. So I watched it in 2 parts, and then watched a little bit of the beginning of it later on. But I did enjoy it, but I did have a few problems with it. I just want to go out and say that I think that fandom in general that has not liked this film should be ashamed of yourself. For you can dislike something, but the way people are going on social media and saying how it's being very nasty about not liking this, you guys need to check yourselves, because I'm actually disappointed in you, and not surprised, because I've been seeing a lot obviously with Star Wars fandom and Star Trek fandom, but it's there was just some real quick like, it sucked. Oh my God, that was horrible. DC should die. And I'm like, I found a lot of stuff to enjoy with this film. And I'll get into the things that obviously I did not like, because I think they were important reasons that I think that if they paid attention to the criticisms that I'm about to bring it, I think it would have been a lot better film, and it wouldn't have gotten this quick to jump everything sucks about DC and everything. So,
well, I have a couple thoughts first on the internet reaction, which is unfair. I'm not even going to argue that part, but I do think part of the problem with this, Kevin, is with this finally being outside of Tenet, this finally being the big release everybody's been waiting for all year. I think everybody's expectations were just so through the roof, and they wanted something just that was going to so blow and knock their socks off at this point. Anything that didn't achieve that, and I don't think it doesn't matter if it was Wonder Woman, Dune, or anything else. I think if it didn't achieve that, people were going to lose their minds, and I think that's kind of what happened, fairly or unfair. But I do think that's in part.
I think Tenet was underwhelming, of course, but it. I was critical with Tenet, but I didn't respond the way people were responding towards this film for not liking it. If you don't like it, just say, "Oh, it was disappointing, and here's the reasons why." But it was more like that was the worst ever, or it sucked, And I kept hearing, "Oh, I wasted 2.5 hours of my life," and I'm like, whatever.
So. For me, I watched it. I'm kind of a mixed bag of it. The performances were amazing. Gal Gadot is Wonder Woman through and through. She was phenomenal. Chris Pine was phenomenal. I thought Pedro Pascal hammed it up perfectly in this role. Well, he probably enjoyed not having a mask on the entire time. But I'm with you. There are some things about this movie that took away from me. I'll be honest with you. If you're going to ask me straight up, I think the original Wonder Woman is a far superior film.
Yeah, I would agree. I would. The first one was better, but can I go into the reasons why I think it missed for a lot of people?
Yeah, I just wanted to relay one more thing before you go into that. I think for me, one of the things, and I'll get into my reasons after you talk about yours, but this film was just missing a piece of magic that the original Wonder Woman had. That I just didn't feel there.
Probably an editor.
Yeah. And some effects work, but I'll get into that.
The effects work I can go over, but let me just put this out at you. If you're going to have a movie that's over 2.5 hours long, you really have to make sure that you have some story and substance to carry it that long, and that is my first issue with this film, was that it was over 2.5 hours long, and that is way too long for this. And it also, when it comes to the first hour or so, I was rolling along with it. I loved it. I love the intro with the Olympics, and I love the character building of the soon to be villains, and I love Gal Gadot. I think she's wonderful, and she has a certain charisma about her that makes you want to watch what she's doing on screen. And I loved her character as Wonder Woman, but it was too long. And I'm going to mention 3 things here. Too long. 2 was the overdoing it on the villainy stuff at the end, and overdrawn good guy villain fights that just go on and on and on. I think that they should have condensed those down to the whole Cheetah and Wonder Woman thing in the dark, fighting, swinging all over the place. Everyone knows about how I feel about CGI in dark, and that was a big red flag there. If you could have just condensed that whole thing with Pedro Pascal's character, that would have made it a much tighter film. But number 3, which was the thing that really kind of bugged me. Everyone loves pop culture in the 80s. That's pretty much what most of the stuff that we talk about here, Kyle, on the Fandom Podcast Network, is we love visiting the 80s. If you're going to call your movie Wonder Woman 1984, you gotta have references from actual year of 1984. And what I mean is, you can't just throw in the cars of the 80s, the costumes and the styles of the 80s and 80s technology and call it 1984. What you should have done was to set yourself in 1984. And for those of us that listen to our podcast Time Warp, where we go back and celebrate an entire year of movies in several different parts, this is why we talk about the pop culture in 1984 on those shows. We let you know what's going on with the politics. We let you know what's going on in television. We let you know what's going on with the music and the other notable events happening that year and that month of movies in that year we're talking about. So you time travel back in time. 1984, Wonder Woman 1984 did not do that. Instead, it just kind of gave you a generalization of the 80s. It's like watching an episode of the Goldbergs, which I love, but they always tell you, oh, it was January of 1980 something. And they don't take you to a specific time. And things that they missed out on of discussing in pop culture. Let's start with the movies. The top 10 movies were Beverly Hills Cop, Ghostbusters, Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom, Gremlins, Karate Kid, Police Academy, Footloose, Romancing the Stone, Star Trek 3, Splash, Amadeus, a bunch of great films. They could have just, paid a little money to mention, or at least show them on like a marquee movie screen or something. And when it comes to songs, they could have paid someone just to play a song, or maybe shown like a clip of a concert of some of these people. We got Say, Say, Say. That was like one of the biggest hits. Owner of a Lonely Heart, Karma Chameleon, Jump by Van Halen, Footloose, Let's Hear It for the Boy, Time After Time, Cyndi Lauper, Reflex by Duran Duran, When Doves Cry, Prince, Ghostbusters. What's Love got to do with it? All these songs from it. And also top TV shows at the time could have shown us a little bit more with that. Dynasty, Dallas, Cosby Show, 60 Minutes, Family Ties, A-Team, Simon and Simon, Knots Landing, Cheers, Riptide, Magnum PI. Give us something. Yeah. Nothing. And I'm sorry, when it comes to, if you're going to call out a year, give us a reason to remember that year. And that was my biggest pet peeve with Wonder Woman 1984. Other than that, I still found a way to enjoy the movie.
So I definitely agree with everything you said about 80s references. They could have talked to the people at Stranger Things.
I know, right? I mean, the opening mall scene was great. It felt like the 80s, I mean, I would have loved to have seen a little more of some of the 80s type shops that you have seen in the mall. But you just can't throw on some parachute pants and call it 1984.
Yeah. But there's some aspects of the story of Wonder Woman 84 for me that kind of took away from this experience a little bit, Kevin. So hear me out here on these. First of all, let's talk Kristen Wiig, because she was awesome in the beginning of this film. As she was kind of transforming after she made her wish and everything like that. By the time she becomes the cheetah, you don't even care about the character.
True. Yeah.
There's no significance to.
There's no humanity left in her character when she becomes that character.
And that's fine. That's the point of the character. But the cheetah is one of Wonder Woman's most well-known villains, as far as like one-on-one. And like you said, this is a case, Kevin, where I completely agree with you with CGI Dark. We never got a great look of Kristen Wiig as the cheetah. And when we live in a day when we can get Thanos and in broad daylight and everything like that, there was no excuse for that. 2, I think the way they brought the whole Steve Trevor thing with him inhabiting somebody else's body,
right,
and everything like that, it just felt weak.
There's
a lot of other ways they could have done that.
Like he wasn't really there type of feeling,
I mean,
that hit a chord with me from a certain movie, but
And the other issue I had was in the ending itself, how long and drawn out that ending with Max Lord and Wonder Woman was. It just felt like it went on forever and ever and ever. And I grant your wish, I grant your wish, I grant your wish. And then he gives these big long speeches and everything like that. But there's also a lot of stuff I loved in this film. Again, Gal Gadot is Wonder Woman.
Did they ever settle whether or not that guy that wished that one girl would just die? And they show the scene later where like they're giving her CPR and
she pops up. And if you look in the background, she does pop up.
Okay, all right. Because I was kind of worried about that woman, because I'm glad they showed that, but they could have cut out a bunch of stuff.
Well, yeah, I think there's editing problems in this film left and right, but there's other things going on there too, which I'll talk about. But it just felt like there was no threat to Wonder Woman. What was the threat to Wonder? Oh, she's losing her powers because she made a wish.
Yeah.
There wasn't a villain threat. It was more of this message of what it was trying to do, and I get it, and I respect that aspect of it. I love one of my favorite scenes is how they pay tribute to the Wonder Woman invisible jet.
Yeah.
I thought that was very well done, even though there's no way that jet is designed to make the flight from the U.S. to Cairo. But
can I just say though that every time I think of Wonder Woman's invisible jet, I think of that funny little quick skit in Family Guy.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Where Superman's flying along and you just see like Wonder Woman in like midair,
Yeah.
and she's like, "Oh, so you're in your jet?" She's like, "I'm actually in the lavatory."
Yeah.
And then he calls her out for not washing her hands.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like I said, we don't want to be too negative on the movie. I overall did enjoy it, and visually it was, overall it was pretty good with a few things like you mentioned with the CG. But there's a lot of films I love that I find a lot of fault with, but I still enjoy for one thing or another. In the long run, I can see myself rewatching this and still enjoying it. So, but it was not a waste of my 2.5 hours, and it was not the most horrible thing in the world, and it did not suck.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. A couple of things of note here that have come out after the fact, and this is why I find it so interesting. The news we talked about earlier, Patty Jenkins coming back.
Yes.
Gal Gadot is no surprise. Patty Jenkins, I'm a little surprised with, not only because we know Patty's going to go do Rogue Squadron, but there was a lot. You talk about editing. There were some things Warner Brothers wanted to do that Patty Jenkins fought with them hand and foot over. Warner Brothers wanted to cut out the opening scene with the Amazon game.
Right.
They also wanted to change the ending from what Patty Jenkins had. And apparently she relented somewhat on this, and I think it definitely affected the movie. And there's a few other things, and there was just a lot of clashing between Warner Brothers and Patty Jenkins. I think the only reason Patty Jenkins is coming back is because she feels so tied in with the character and so tied in with Gal. And
yeah, I think the final cut of this film had something to do with differences between the director and the studio. But that was another thing I want to give fans the shame finger on, is because this movie did not live up to a lot of people's expectations. Now they're worried about the Rogue One movie. And you should not generalize something like that to Patty Jenkins, who is an established director and can handle a large big studio franchise movie, just because this one didn't live up to your expectations. To doubt that she is not good enough to do a Star Wars movie, be ashamed of yourselves. When the original film first came out with Wonder Woman, I said she should direct a Star Wars movie. I said that to you, Kyle.
Yeah,
and we said that on Culture Clash, and I am happy that she's going to be given the chance to do something that she is also very emotionally tied to.
Yeah, and part of this is too, Warner Brothers doesn't exactly have the most winning record right now. So
yeah, I see the complaint about DC not doing the Marvel routine, and those criticisms are valid. They don't seem to be resetting themselves to kind of start over, to kind of model themselves after what Marvel has been doing so well. They just kind of seem to be throwing out these films, and whether it's announcing another Wonder Woman or announcing knowing that we got this kind of a sequel but not really a sequel of Suicide Squad, and then we got the I guess this Justice League super long cut that's coming out. So I don't know.
I'll tell you what,
I get that, but don't jump on a director like that, So
I will say this though, for all the stuff you talk about DC, I'm still very excited for Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, I am too. I'm excited from what I saw from the trailer, and I'm excited about seeing Robert Pattinson be the Batman.
Yeah. But Wonder Woman 84, I'm going to call it a stream it for right now, Kevin. I don't know if
I would too, definitely.
It's definitely worth checking.
I will probably buy it on physical media when it comes out, though.
Yeah. No, I can, when it eventually comes out available, I will probably buy it too, because I'm a comic book hero fan, and I try to support those films. But that wasn't the only big release. Another major release came out on Christmas Day as well. Another big film that had been pushed back, and Disney itself finally decided, no, we're just going to release it on Disney Plus Christmas Day, and that is the new Pixar film Soul, with Jamie Foxx and Tina Fey providing the main voices of the characters. This was done by some of the creators of Inside Out, which I know is kind of one of those mixed Pixar films. People either really love it or aren't really so warm to it. There's aspects of this movie I really enjoyed. I thought the performance of Tina Fey as 22 was a lot of fun. And I thought Jamie Foxx did a good job. And I think there's moments in this it's a Pixar film. There's moments in this that touch at your heart. There's moments in this that make you laugh. But I think it's Pixar starting to fall into a little bit of a trap here, Kevin. And we talked about this off mic. First of all, I can say I enjoyed Soul. It wasn't my favorite Pixar film, but I enjoyed it. You had some interesting observations off mic. But first of all, Kevin, did you like Soul?
I'm going to be honest with you. I was underwhelmed by it, to be honest with you. There was a lot of people that put on social media saying you should put on Soul. It will, it's an uplifting film. It's the movie that we need right now. I saw those kind of reviews from friends of mine on social media. And I actually I wasn't excited jumping into it, to be honest with you, because I had a feeling about where and how it was going to go. I was not a fan of the sorry, what was the film?
Inside Out.
I was not a fan of Inside Out for several reasons. I enjoyed the direction that it tried to make to a certain degree. I love the character development in it, but there's two things I did not like about it, and it's a trend that I'm seeing with Pixar. And I'll get back to that in a second. But what I did not like about it is I didn't like this afterlife look with this kind of weird two-dimensional beings that were just kind of outline characters. Whatever you want to call it, the beyond, I guess it was. I really wanted to see something a little more 3D-ish there. The character of 22, Tina Fey, not a fan of how that was represented. I wanted to see something a little bit different, whether she took a shape of someone that we can kind of identify with a little bit more. I liked how they did the body switching at the end, but my favorite parts of this film were when he was coming back to Earth, kind of giving that second chance, and he was in the cat and she was in him, and I like that. I love the whole struggling with your life and maybe not really realizing how important it actually is, and appreciating it. I love the music side of this. I love the characters and the jazz clubs. The animation in the streets and all of that was just wonderful, but I did not enjoy the whole afterlife and the weird little creatures that kind of came back out that were like these little outlines and stuff. But the problem I had with Soul, and the same thing with Inside Out, is I feel that Pixar's trying to get too meta emotional, I guess is what I'm trying to say, and not try to and show too much reality when I want to go to see a movie to escape reality and not be reminded of my own insecurities and my own issues and own problems that I see from day to day. And that's why I didn't like Inside Out, because it tugged too emotionally for me. And I want to, when I go see a Pixar film, I want to escape. I want you to take me out of my current day problems that I deal with, or emotional issues, or missing people and dealing with death, which I've done with. And it's, I don't, and I see them trying to get too real. If you want to make a real, just do a drama, live action, do something like that. But if you want to take me away and have me discuss and have me relate to these characters having the same issues I'm having in real life, I'm having trouble enjoying that. Take me away with Toy Story. Take me away with The Incredibles. Stuff that takes me away from my problems. That's the problem I had with Soul, and the direction that I feel that Pixar is going with right now.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying, and I think the meta thing is something Pixar can sometimes dive a little too deep into. I like some of the stuff that Inside Out and Soul bring to the table, especially what I liked in Soul, because one of the things I liked too was when they got back to Earth and Jamie Foxx's character is in the cat and he's seeing Tina Fey kind of use his body, and he kind of sees how people react to him.
Yeah.
When they don't realize it's actually him. And I think there's a good lesson in that. And I think that's a great moment. I think, some of the realizations of when like Tina Face 22 is in his body and he speaks up to his mother, who's kind of, and he puts out emotions that maybe he held back. I think there's some good lessons in that. But yeah, there are times when Pixar does try to be like, we're your moral compass.
Yeah.
And
just
that's fine.
Let me escape. Take me away. Calgon, take me away.
Or
Pixar, just take me away.
They're very good when they find a balance in that. And Jennifer in the chat talked about it. See, where WALL-E is her favorite Pixar film, and that's the great thing about WALL-E though. WALL-E has that fantasy take you away aspect, but there is a little bit of that morality in it as well.
Yeah, no, yeah. By the way, I just got to mention, Nathaniel said, Kevin tonight, the cartoon too real, the superhero movie not real enough.
Exactly.
That was good. I love that. That was good.
Amen. Preach it, Nathaniel. I enjoyed Soul, but I think the issue with Soul is I think it's aimed more, and it's a trap Pixar does fall into. They get aimed more at adults or an older audience than being a kid's film.
Yeah, it's they tried new ways to really tug at you emotionally. It's interesting too because Nathaniel always said Onward had the same thing going on with it. I mean, it was depressing a little bit. It's like what happened in the old days when the mom or the dad would die, and then you spend the rest of the film uplifting yourself. So I don't know.
No, you said uplifting. Brings me to another Pixar film, Up.
Yeah,
maybe one of the most depressing beginnings of a film ever.
Yeah.
By the end of it,
they really brought that up though, and stuff. So and it's, I love WALL-E, but then it reminds you at the very end of how we are right now.
Yeah.
I love the first half of WALL-E, but the last half of WALL-E is tough to watch for me.
Yeah. So Kevin, I would call Soul a stream it. I think it's enjoyable. I think it's worth a check out. For you, I'm sensing a stream it or maybe even an unsee it.
I'm not going to say unsee it. I think that I'm going to say borderline stream it because I think that the performances in that, the animation in that when they're in the real world anyway, are worth it. And I think there's some lessons in there like you touched on that are important. So, however, I will not be streaming it again. It will not live on my physical media shelf, but I think some people like In and Out, it will work for.
Yeah. Now it's time to give a shout out to one of the friends of the network, Matt Clifton.
Yes.
Every once in a while he posts a treasure on social media, and he's done it again. Apparently, Kevin, he had a little post there's a post about Danny Trejo. And
well, I had done a post, and then he had mentioned about Danny Trejo, and he put a link to a documentary. And yes. I said, "Where is this streaming?" And he says, "It's not. You have to purchase it through iTunes," which is what he did. And so I decided to do the same. And I mean, we all love Danny Trejo, right?
Oh, come on. We all think Danny Trejo should be playing Santa Claus.
This is a guy who was not a good person early in his life. Let's just be honest with that. And he got a second chance, and he's very thankful for that. And so I'm speaking of the documentary, 2019 documentary that Matthew Clifton suggested that I do, and I ended up purchasing it, and I'm glad that I did. It's called Inmate Number 1, The Rise of Danny Trejo. And it starts off with him as a kid showing older pictures, and they interview his family, they interview his friends in Hollywood and co-star, and then into when he basically had a horrible childhood, got into lots of trouble with the law. He didn't have the greatest family, and he unfortunately looked up to this uncle who was a criminal. Because of the way his uncle was living, this fast lifestyle of robbing places, and Danny Trejo gets into trouble when he's a kid. He actually went by places that he robbed. I mean, that's how real that it gets in Southern California where he grew up. He talks about his prison time and the many different prisons that he was shipped off to. and they talk to other people that were in prison, either with him or experienced prison and that were friends with him. I mean, they get pretty intense in this. He even visits a prison with prisoners and he gives a speech and stuff like that, you know. And then it gets into obviously his big break in Hollywood, and Robert Rodriguez is interviewed, and it gets into his movies and the stuff that he was doing, because he was kind of typecast in this as baddies, you know. And then things kind of started to change a little bit more. He kind of became this anti-hero. I highly recommend this documentary, Inmate Number One. Thank you, Matthew, for turning me on to it. It's worth a rewatch as well. It's just amazing what this guy's gone through, and seeing him drive through his old neighborhoods and his old schools and the stuff that he did. And he was not a good person, and he was not in an ideal situation that could help him either. You know, he had to go to prison or die, basically. So
Yeah, no, I'm definitely going to be checking this out. I'm a Danny Trejo fan. It's amazing how this man has turned his life around and where he's at in Hollywood, and the niche that is unique to him that he's carved out.
yeah,
So.
no, totally, he has. and he's one of those guys. I mean, he's done so many movies, a lot of directed to video stuff, you know, where he's played either a good guy or a bad guy. But I think he's just happy that he's gotten a second chance, and that, you know, he does talk to people. You know, you see that in the film about people that either are behind bars and people that he's trying to help not make the same mistakes that he did. So yeah. By the way, Nathaniel said just Monsters Inc. and the Incredible Films. I love Monsters Inc. That was a fun one too.
Yeah,
so.
that was a very fun one. You got one more for us though, Kevin. One I haven't heard of. So educate me.
Yeah, Dave, if you're still out there, take note of this, okay? And there's a reason why I'm shouting out Dave. So I had heard in my Raider fandom on a podcast or a radio thing a while ago that a former Raider by the name of Nnamdi Asomugha. Do you know who Nnamdi Asomugha is, Kyle?
Oh yes, I'm very familiar with Nnamdi Asomugha, and I know he has gone on to a little bit of an acting career since he's retired.
Yes, that's what I'm getting to. So Nnamdi, who was one of our better players back there in the 90s and early 2000s or what have you, number 21, was a shutdown corner, as they call, and he left the Raiders and went to, I think it was Philadelphia. Anyway, great guy. And has jumped into the entertainment world. He's done some acting, but he's also done some producing, and he's been doing quite well for himself. And this, I would say, is probably his breakout role, if I were to say, and this is called Sylvia's Love. Sylvia's Love, Kevin. Why are you talking about
Is it Sylvia or Sylvie's?
I'm sorry, Sylvie's Love. Sylvie's Love, I should say. But there is a Marvel Universe tie-in for you guys out there. It stars Tessa Thompson and Nnamdi Asomugha, and it's about a young woman, and this takes place in 1950s Harlem. And this movie spans through several years till early 60s. And it's about a young woman played by Tessa Thompson who meets an inspiring saxophonist played by Nnamdi Asomugha and her father's record shop in 1950s Harlem. And their love ignites this sweeping romance, but things are kind of complicated because she's got a fiance, and he's being pulled into the jazz world, and people are interested in his jazz quartet, and he has to go to Paris for a while. So the relationship is kind of on and off again. And it's this great setting in 1950s. I read a little bit about behind the scenes on this, and they filmed some of it in the sound stages in LA while they went to other places to film it as well. And what I liked about this, and the director Eugene Ash mentions, is that when you talk about this time frame with an African-American cast, usually race always comes up, and race is a big issue and will always be a big issue. But what I liked, what he wanted to do with this film, is just show what normal relationships are like for an African-American couple and family in neighborhood, outside of all of the obvious issues that might come and affect these family. And it was a great kind of relationship movie, and look into that world as well, whether they're talking, touching on, talking about Miles Davis and the whole jazz thing and how it starts to get faded out because of rock and roll coming in and getting really popular. Tessa was great in this. Of course, I say that there's a tie to the Marvel Universe, of course, because she plays Valkyrie in the Marvel Universe. And Tessa Thompson is a great actress in this. And what I love about her, Kyle, is that she's infatuated with movies and music.
Yeah.
You know, she's watching like while she's working at her dad's record shop, she's watching TV shows.
Yeah.
You know?
So interesting thing here, Kevin. I did not realize the title of this movie, but are you familiar with the show Real Sports with Bryant Gumbel, HBO interview?
I've heard of it. Yes.
He actually was doing his year in review show, and he actually he did an interview with Nnamdi Asomugha, and he was talking about his acting career and all his time on Broadway and doing theater and how much he's learned and everything like that. And he was talking about this movie with Tessa Thompson, but he never said the name.
Right.
But it was a really interesting interview talking about how he's come up in acting, because his wife is an actress as well.
Yeah, Nnamdi, you know, he's I got to tell you, acting wise, he held his own. He's not like great, but he wasn't bad, and he really he learned how to play saxophone for this role. And it was just a great relationship as you're kind of drawn into seeing how this is going to work, you know. And they had what's the guy that the guy in John Wick that works behind the counter at the Continental.
Lance Reddick.
He plays Tessa Thompson's father in this, and he's great, you know.
Yeah, Kevin, real quick, I'm shortchanging it. Nnamdi Asomugha's wife is Kerry Washington.
There you go. Great actress. But he was really good in this. And it was just a nice, sweet film talking about, you know, two couples, like, you know, trying to get together, but then something happens and they're pulled away. And she wants to get into the television production industry. And of course, not a lot of African-American women were given the right, you know, avenues to explore that, and she finds a way to get in there. And you know, his music is important to him, and he starts getting more popular. And it was just a really good, it was something what I needed during this this holiday season. So
what's interesting,
by the way, real quick, it's on Amazon. That's how you can watch it.
Real quick too, just as you spoke of Tessa Thompson, a little bit of news I saw today when I was just surfing around. Obviously Ryan Coogler is busy preparing Black Panther 2 for Marvel. However, Creed 3 is in the works. It has been announced Michael B. Jordan will direct Creed 3, and Tessa Thompson will be returning for Creed 3.
Very cool, very cool. And I want to give a shout out to Jennifer. She says, speaking of great movies, have you caught Sound of Metal? I have not, Jennifer, but I want to see that with Riz Ahmed getting wonderful reviews about a musician drummer losing his hearing. Of course, a lot of Star Wars fans know him from Rogue One as the pilot. So, that's on my radar, Jennifer. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah. So we're going to take a quick break here, wet our whistles, give everybody a chance to take a potty break, whatever else you want to do. You know, hey, we're getting ready for New Year's. What can we say? And we're going to be right back after this break, because it's going to be then time for, I'm ready for it, Mando Watch 2020. We'll be right back after this short break.
Thank you for listening. We hope you're enjoying this podcast. We like to continue to feed your ears by inviting you to listen to the Fandom Podcast Network and all of the other awesome shows we have to offer. It starts with our flagship show, Culture Clash, our weekly pop culture news podcast. Bloody Kings, our Highlander podcast. Couch Potato Theater, our podcast celebrating our favorite movies. Time Warp, the Fandom Flashback podcast discussing a year in movies and our favorite pop culture topics. End Zone, the NFL podcast. Good Evening, an Alfred Hitchcock podcast. Union Federation, our Star Trek and Orville podcast. Hair Metal, the 80s and early 90s rock metal podcast. Type 40, our Doctor Who podcast. Lethal Mullet, a 1980s and 90s action film podcast. What a Piece of Junk, a Star Wars podcast. And our newest show, Making Treks, a new Star Trek podcast with a deep dive into the final frontier with host Mark Newbold and Adam P. O'Brien. You can enjoy all of these great Fandom Podcast Network shows on our master feed at fpnet.podbean.com. Fandom Podcast Network is also on Apple Podcast, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. You can also find us on Facebook under Fandom Podcast Network. You can also email us at fandompodcastnetwork@gmail.com. You can also find us on Instagram and Twitter under Fandom Podcast Network. Thank you for listening, and remember, respect others and enjoy your fandom. That guy sounds familiar.
Yeah, it is just a little bit.
By the way, apparently you scared someone in Jennifer's house.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Jennifer. But you need to prepare them because it's going to happen again. So, first of all, hopefully you're enjoying everything we're putting out here at the Fandom Podcast Network. We got some exciting things going on, Kevin. I'm going to kind of give a little push out here. Our good friend Dan Hadley, who hosts Type 40, we're making a few changes around here. The Type 40 podcast, with its incredible popularity covering all things Doctor Who, and Dan has done a phenomenal job growing this brand. It's not only now on our master feed, but it has its own feed and Podbean website now. www.type40.podbean.com. Check it out. Dan has done a phenomenal job with Type 40. It's a great Doctor Who site. They have a ton of fun.
I just want to give Dan props too for, I remember when we first brought him on and he hadn't really done a lot of podcasting and talking into a mic, and he's done an exceptional job at fine tuning his craft and cultivating that Type 40 Doctor Who fandom and making it into something very, very popular, including his pop culture Facebook page. And Dan has been doing a great job at working and cultivating that fandom that he's doing there. So thank you, Dan, and congratulations.
Yeah. Also, too, our good friend Adam O'Brien with his Lethal Mullet brand will be in February spinning off into still part of the Fandom Podcast Network, but be spinning Lethal Mullet into its own feed as well. So you'll be able to find the Lethal Mullet shows on their own feed. We're still working out some things on that. I don't know what the official web title is going to be as of yet. But
he's got some fun stuff for his Lethal Mullet channel there. And he's been working tirelessly on developing his brand, which is important when you're podcasting.
Yeah. So always growing and morphing here at the Fandom Podcast Network. And we're very proud of both Dan and Adam and for their accomplishments and looking forward to see what they're going to do next. So, Kevin, we've had our break. It's time to get to the important stuff. It is time for Mando Watch 2020, the final edition of 2020 Mando Watch, because it's the last day of 2020. And unfortunately, season 2 of Mandalorian is over, Kevin.
I started going through season 1 again.
Come on. We both know at some point we're both going here very soon. We're both going to do a full rewatch of everything together.
Yeah. Well, I went through the first 6 episodes of season 1, and, because they're not like long episodes, it's easy to do. So,
yeah. So Kevin, we've got 3 things to cover for Mando Watch in this edition, because we have 2 episodes and a very special Christmas Day Mandalorian thing. So, Kevin, let us start with chapter 15 of The Mandalorian, The Believer. This was a return to a prior episode from season 1, Kevin.
Yes. The Prisoner episode where we get Bill Burr, who you're referring to, correct?
Exactly.
Yes. This was a great episode because we get, first of all, we get Boba Fett, helping out here, but you got to go get Bill Burr out of Rebel jail, pretty much, right? Which was
New
great
Republic
scene.
jail.
New Republic Rebel jail, yes. And now that Cara Dune is a marshal, she's got the cred to do that. She pulled some strings, of course. And they need Bill Burr's character, Mayfeld, to use his expertise in sneaking into a top secret Imperial, what do you call
mining
it?
facility.
Yeah, and they're mining something very dangerous and explosive and combustible, but they need to get to a terminal computer to find out where Moff Gideon's starship is, basically. So the whole thing about this episode, Kyle, was it was a great look into the Imperial side of things and how Imperials run it, but they also kind of blur that line between bad and good a little bit when you get to kind of see how the Imperials are kind of doing their thing. and with the common trooper, so to speak, but then you get your definitely evil Imperial officer thing going on. But when it comes down to it, this was Bill Burr's episode to shine. And the character development that he got to show in this episode was phenomenal. And this is coming from a guy who had made fun of Star Wars, because he was older than most people that were getting into Star Wars, and, being from the East Coast and stuff, he's poked fun at it. And knowing this, Jon Favreau said, this will be great to get you in here anyway. And I'm kind of curious where he stands with that now, because I'm sure people are praising and talking about how wonderful he was in this episode.
So I want to say this: Bill Burr is definitely a bit of an acquired taste for a lot of people, but I will say this: Are you
talking about because of his comedy?
Yeah, his comedy.
Yeah,
and because I mean he pushes the envelope in ways, but that's a whole other thing. I wasn't a big fan of this character when they introduced him last season. I was like, yeah. This episode definitely, at least we came to respect the character and what the work Bill Burr has done with this character to make this character more interesting.
Scott just said Mayfeld comes to the final realization that there is a difference between evil power and good power. Well said, Scott.
Yeah. One of the things I loved about this episode was it paid tribute to a movie I absolutely love. And it's a classic Roy Scheider movie called The Sorcerer. Have you ever heard of this movie?
I have not seen it. No.
The concept of it is they're down. It's three people, including Roy Scheider, and they're down in South America. They've all had something go wrong in their lives, and they're kind of hiding out. And they're trying to get money to get back to wherever they came from and kind of start a new life. Well, they take a job where they're driving this old rickety truck full of really, really unstable dynamite and nitroglycerin. Through these mountains in South America. And I actually saw it in a film class and absolutely loved it. And this had that part where that was a straight tribute to that film.
I want to say, actually, I know for sure that movie was covered on our friends at the Long Box Crusade podcast network. They have a separate podcast called Action Film Face Off, and they covered that movie.
Yeah, no, I'm a fan of that film, and I love the tribute to that. A lot of things I liked in this episode. I think it threw me off a little because there's so much going on, and you weren't sure how they were going to get to the finale. And it was like, man, what are they going to do here? We were kind of expecting maybe another 2-part finale like we had in season 1.
Right.
Not the case. But let's move on because the internet broke the day Chapter 16, The Rescue, came out, Kevin. There might have been a lot of man tears.
Yeah, many were shared by myself.
So Chapter 16, The Rescue, broke. Kevin, I think it's safe to say it broke the internet.
Yeah.
We weren't sure what to expect. The episode itself was phenomenal. Scott, I'm glad to see you're still in the chat, so you can give some weigh in here to some of these thoughts. We knew we were going to get something special, and the episode itself was amazing. It was something very special. The performances were great. What they did was great. I was so happy that they involved Bo-Katan again. I even had predicted that we were going to see her in the finale. Everything with Moff Gideon. Props to Giancarlo Esposito because he's just phenomenal in this role.
Yeah, he is.
I mean, when he's manipulating the whole situation with the Black Saber and Din and Bo-Katan and everything like that, and just the maniacal look on his face while he's doing it, Kevin. I have a Beskar staff, so sorry.
Yeah, he's holding this little thing up to little baby Grogu. It's so sad.
Come on, we all wish we would have seen Grogu lay the smack down on him.
Yeah.
Treated him like. Speaking of Grogu, real quick, Kevin, I saw something on Amazon. There's a new Black Series speeder bike, and it's the speeder biker scout with carrying Grogu from season 1 of The Mandalorian.
Seriously?
Seriously, it's a Black Series figure. So just sidebar. Everything about this episode was just perfect, phenomenal. It hit on every note. And then we get the moment.
We get the Black Troop. Death Troopers. What are they called?
Dark
Troopers. Sorry. Get the Dark Troopers.
We have the Dark Troopers everything's looking grim, everything, and a lot of people have been speculating who it was going to be. And Kevin, I'm going to ask you. I knew when I figured it out as soon as we hit a certain moment, but I want to ask you, what was the moment you knew?
So when you first see the X-Wing, I first was thinking, where's the other one? Because you know, is this going to be Blue and Filoni's character? And then I'm like, oh, it's one. Oh, I think when it pulled into the hangar bay, that's when I knew for sure.
Yeah.
But when I just saw one, and then like I think two as well, when Gina Carano's character says, "Oh, great, one X-wing, we're saved."
And Kevin, so I just want when it hit one X-wing, I started figuring out, and I'm like, my first thought was, no, they didn't. They're really not gonna do this. And I love how they kind of played the long game with it just a little bit, because the door opens and all you see is this hooded figure, and you're thinking, did they?
Okay, hold on too. When you're saying playing the long game, you hit the nail on the head, because even when the lightsaber is ignited, you see it through the video monitor, so you don't see it doesn't identify the color of the lightsaber. You see it through the video monitors, like what they're seeing first. So you're like, okay, there's a hooded character with a lightsaber, but we don't know what color lightsaber it is.
Yeah. Then you see the green lightsaber, and you're like, no, it can't be. And you're still not 100% certain, because you haven't seen a face or anything like that. And then there's a shot where you see the gloved hand holding the lightsaber.
Yeah.
And then and it was about then that most Star Wars fans just somehow had really bad allergies, and I
was crying.
Yeah, there were tears.
I had a bunch of fanboy tears.
Yeah. Luke Skywalker. But here's the kicker. They're still playing the long game with us. We see Luke lay the smack down in a way we've never seen before. Period. I'm sorry. We have never seen Luke Skywalker himself lay the smack down like this. We saw Force Luke kind of lay the smack down, but not a Luke Skywalker in person.
There was no Force. There was no Ghost Luke laying a smackdown. Sorry.
Yeah.
Let's be honest there.
So, Kevin, my question for you is this: as we're watching this unfold, and our minds are trying to process everything we're seeing, was the thought process in your mind similar to what I have had going? I'm like, is that going to be Sebastian Stan when they pull down the hood?
Yeah, I had no idea where they were going to go with that. But there was a little part of me that was like, I don't care who it is. We're getting Luke Skywalker here, kicking butt. Let's see how this folds out. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. And I mean, it folds out and it's spectacular. And then we get the hood pulled down, and it's a digitized, de-aged Mark Hamill, and it's Mark Hamill's voice. And we have we have Return of the Jedi, Luke Skywalker. See, Kevin's getting nervous even now as we're discussing it.
Sorry, I just had to light the darksaber because I was so excited.
And where we have Luke Skywalker right there in front of us.
Yep.
And we're just all blown away. But that wasn't even my favorite moment, Kevin. It truly wasn't. As great as all that was, it's when R2-D2 shows up and Kim and Grogu kind of have a little moment there.
Seeing R2 was the reason that Grogu needed to believe in Luke Skywalker. Yeah. And that this was the right place to go because of the conversation that Luke was having with Din about he won't go unless you give his blessing, so to speak, And the moment with Grogu and, of course, Din taking off his helmet, and seeing the reaction there. But can we just go back a little bit and talk about that fight scene with Din and,
I just wanted, we needed to address the elephant in the room, because
I'll talk about the whole Luke thing and the emotional roller coaster that fans have had with that. But I want to give a quick shout out to that fight scene with the Beskar spear and him winning that, and then the whole game that Moff Gideon was playing with Bo-Katan, how she didn't earn the dark saber in battle, and he was doing it. And then the look on Moff Gideon when he's seeing on the video screens that his dark troopers are getting their ass handed to him, and the fear that he had in his face was great.
And I'm gonna just say he had that fear because he knew exactly who that was.
Do we?
I think so. I think he knew.
Okay. I can go with you either way. That's fine. But yeah, that was great. But the emotion that fans are having with the return of Luke Skywalker obviously set off a social media storm, frenzy between, let's just be honest, the people that love The Last Jedi and the people that hate The Last Jedi. There doesn't seem to really be much of a middle ground there. I know that there is, about how The Last Jedi did not give us the Luke that we wanted, but we did finally get the Luke that we wanted, that we did not get from Last Jedi into The Mandalorian, where people that love The Last Jedi say this actually would be a good start and beginning to the character, and that it's good storytelling. And there's I forget the gentleman's name on Twitter, decided to say, well, this is what you see in Mandalorian and what you see in The Last Jedi is a really well, I guess, thought out way of saying this is how someone's character can come and have a downfall, and what happened to him in the long run is realistic and is good artistic way of developing a character, where people that disagree with that will say, no, we should have gotten the hero that we wanted, make the splash that he did in The Last Jedi. So there's the great debate with that, whether depending on what side of the fence that you're on with that. So, but for me personally, I got the Luke Skywalker that I wanted to see in The Last Jedi, and I agree. For that reason, I lost it. I was like with a lot of people crying with happiness.
No, I agree. I think the whole Last Jedi Mando thing, that's a conversation that we will probably have over at What a Piece of Junk, our Star Wars podcast. We'll get a lot more in depth into that, because Kevin and I will be joining Scott, Derek, and Nathan very soon for a Mando season wrap-up show, and I'm sure that's going to be a interesting discussion over there. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Scott Botman? But one of the things too, and I love that this came out today. I don't know if you've seen this, Kevin. Did you see what Mark Hamill posted on Twitter today?
I did, but please let our listeners and watchers know.
For anybody who said Mark Hamill was in on this for a very long time, his Twitter confirmed otherwise, talking about how 2020 was full of unexpected surprises, but yet moments that he is incredibly grateful for. And that confirms something that, Kevin, I talked to you about this off mic. I've talked to a couple other people about this off mic. Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni had to do a hardcore sell job on Mark Hamill to do this. We know Mark Hamill was not a real happy camper with not only Rian Johnson and everything that happened with Last Jedi. He was not happy with Disney.
Right.
Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau have, and credit to Kathleen Kennedy for being the one to let these guys come in and do this. So
yes,
people have given Kathleen a hard time over the last few years.
She's their boss. So let's just put it that way.
Yeah. So you got give a credit where credit's due.
Yeah.
Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni have completely turned the Star Wars franchise around from where it stood at when Rise of Skywalker ended.
Yeah.
And they have brought back the diehard Star Wars fans. And again, I'm not going to go into, if you love the sequel trilogy, you love the sequel trilogy. That's not a problem. But I think there was a lot of Star Wars fans who felt isolated after the sequel trilogy, felt like they were disregarded after the sequel
neglected,
trilogy.
And it's said in ways of how, whether it was social media and even, how they say they can't appease the old fans while they try to appease new fans. I'm paraphrasing a quote from JJ himself, and and stuff like that. So yeah, there's a lot of fans that really got into the Mandalorian that feeling like they're back home again, so to speak. Is that a good way to say it? I guess.
Yeah, Scott, I just saw you in the chat. Yeah, you better clean out that cockpit. I don't want to see any Wookiee hair anywhere around that cockpit. So
looking forward to that.
Yeah. So Mandalorian was mind-blowing. Mandalorian is, in my opinion, my favorite thing since the original trilogy, Kevin.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
definitely.
that's I mean, I love Solo, I love Rogue One, but I think I love Clone Wars, but this is special. What Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are doing is incredibly special. We've got a lot of other things coming with
Return of the Jedi is my favorite Star Wars movie of all time. And the main reason I love that movie, I have several, but the main reason is the character of Luke and his development in that. And just thank you for the Mandalorian and Dave at least giving us that. And it was great. I mean, there's so many wonderful moments in that episode too, not just that, and that's what really made that episode. Really did.
Yeah. Phenomenal season 2. Of course, let's talk real quick, Kevin, too, about the scene at the end of the episode. And
that one, yes.
Of course, where Boba Fett lays out Bib Fortuna, and apparently, if the Rancor were still around, he'd probably be Rancor food, a Rancor snack right now or something.
Did you think that Rancor pit was going to open?
I was kind of wondering.
Was there going to be a new beast down there? Yeah.
And so we know now, Christmas 2021, the Book of Boba Fett is here. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to Tamora Morrison in this role, seeing what they do with it, and anything that puts more Ming Na on my screen, I'm all in.
Yeah, Ming Na Wen is great. So
I have to address something. Ming Na Wen, who I have been a fan of for a very, very long time, since the 80s. She is 57 years old and still looks the same she did back in like 1987.
Yeah, I recently saw a picture back in the 90s when she got to meet George Lucas, and she still looks the same. It's great.
I mean, she's a beautiful one. If you ever had the chance to meet her at a convention, amazing person. Kevin, I got to rewind for just a second too, because there's one thing we didn't discuss when we talked about Wonder Woman, real quick.
Yes, of course.
The amazing credit sequence with Linda Carter.
Oh yeah, it was good to bring her into the fold and let her be a character. I love that. It was great,
and still looking beautiful for her age as well.
Yeah.
So I just had to get that in. But we got one more quick Mando thing to talk about, Kevin, and that is Christmas Day. We were huge fans of season 1 of The Gallery, which gave us a really in-depth look of what they did throughout season 1. We got a special season 2 episode, a little bit over an hour, that kind of went through everything with the season. Bryce Dallas Howard, will you marry me?
Yes. And seeing some of the newcomers, directors behind the scenes as well, which was great too. Peyton Reed, directing his 2 episodes, and Carl Weathers directing an episode. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal. So much insight. Couple of things that have come out of this, Kevin. We'll talk about the one big thing, but Robert Rodriguez. First of all, the great video of him playing guitar with Grogu jamming next to him.
Yeah, while he's on the Force Rock, in between takes. Yeah.
But today I found out there might be something more to come out of this because of now Robert Rodriguez's relationship with Disney. We could be looking at something to follow up the Alita Battle Angel film because of this.
What do you mean?
You remember the film and how it kind of ended on a cliffhanger, and there has
Alita. Yeah, we were wondering if there was going to be a sequel or not.
It was a Fox film, so Disney now owns the property.
Yeah. So we might get a sequel to Alita, is what you're saying.
They're saying either a sequel or maybe a series on Disney Plus. I would love to see that happen. You know how big a fan movie I am of that movie. So
can we give Robert credit for not only giving us the guy flicks, the actioneers, but also turning it around and doing family films?
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't that great? I love that.
Yeah,
it's great.
And allowing Tamora Morrison just to show us what a gaffy stick can really do.
Yes, and I love the behind the scenes with Robert Rodriguez, by going out to his backyard and having his kids put on Boba Fett helmets and stuff like that,
and using his action figures,
using his own action figures to basically do his own storyboards for this episode. Because the point that he made about, I'm paraphrasing here, but if I'm going to be doing an episode about Boba Fett, I really have to do it justice, and I really have to make sure that we give the Boba Fett the fans have wanted for so many years, and how he was able to just kick some butt and film that. I loved it. It was great.
Well, and I loved it too. I think it was Favreau said best storyboards ever.
Yes, yes. But and by the way, there's two things that surprised me about the making of season 2, episode 1 of The Mandalorian. One was how long it took for you guys to watch it in our Star Wars group. And yes, Scott, I'm looking at you guys and What a Piece of Junk group.
Yeah, Derek
guys
Marsh
did not-
saying he had family in town. That's an excuse.
So did I. I still watched it on Christmas Day. Come on, guys. I had to wait to talk about it. I was like, no, I got to wait till Monday. Anyway, teasing you guys. Love you. But there was one big omission in this first episode, Kyle, which leads us to believe we don't know how many episodes there are going to be of making of season 2. But they did not touch on Luke Skywalker's return at all. They talked about that episode, Peyton Reed, and the awesome thing with the Dark Troopers actually being actors inside these things, which I thought was really cool. But they did not talk about Luke and his return.
Yeah, I know. And I think we are going to get it, whether it's this Friday or if it's a few weeks from now. I think there's another gallery episode coming. One of the things, though, that I really hope we have a few more episodes, because they didn't really have it in this. One thing I loved about season 1 of the gallery was the roundtable discussions.
Yeah. My feeling is they're probably not going to have as many, but because this episode was a little over, it was an hour and 5 minutes, and they covered the whole season pretty well in the highlights of it, So, yeah.
So that's what's going on with Mando Watch 2020. We're going to gear up. We got, you know what, Kevin, though, I'm excited because we're going to revert with Disney Plus for the first time here in just a few short weeks. We're going to talk Marvel on Disney Plus, Kevin, because WandaVision premieres January 15th.
I have no idea what's going on with that show, and I love it. Yeah, I'm excited for it. And by the way, I just want to give a shout out to Scott, and thank you for checking in, man. Appreciate you and the comments, and also thank you, Jennifer, and everyone else that come on here. So thank you. Appreciate it.
We know we've run a little long, but we want to take a quick moment. It's the end of 2020. It's been a hard year for all of us. I put a post out on Facebook talking about how with everything that's gone on this year, it feels like anything bad that's happened otherwise is even more so, because every time it seems like when you get up in the morning, it's just been more bad news. I just want to tell everybody that, you know what, it's on us to start on a new year, even though we know it feels like it's going to be some more of the same at the start of this year. We need to pick ourselves up and try to get through and focus on the good things that are going to be coming. It might be 6 months away yet. It might be a few more, but it is going to come. But it's up to us to bring the positivity to do it. Because if we sit there, as hard as it is, and I know even I'm feeling it today, my whole day has felt weird. It's felt off. The holiday seasons felt off.
When you say it's going to be up to us, I think it's also important to say is not only up to us, but also up to us to look after our friends and loved ones and help bring them up. Because I found myself, like, Kyle, when you're down, I'll check on you and then you feel better. And then when I'm down, you always check on me. And I appreciate and love that so much. So it's up to us to help each other up. Because I get down too. And what helps me is when you guys help me. And I try to return the favor.
Well, I just send you cute kitten pictures is all.
That always works. I love your cats.
So Kevin and I just want to take a moment here, talk about some of our good memories of 2020, because there were some good things in 2020 in fandom and just for us as well. Kevin, obviously, I think everybody will agree Mandalorian Season 2, maybe the highlight of 2020 in fandom, especially.
Yes, for me it is. It is, definitely.
Yeah. We talked a little bit about this on our latest episode of Union Federation with Haley and Amy, and you brought this up too. The return of Star Trek with 3 Star Trek shows in one season. We had Picard, we had the surprisingly fun Lower Decks, and the current season of Discovery, which up until maybe the most recent episode was going really well, but we'll see how that plays.
I've been enjoying season 3 a lot more than season 1 and 2, but this last episode I was just like, anyway, we'll see how they pull it out. There's still a couple more episodes left.
And while not everybody's cup of tea, The Boys on Amazon, the craziness, you don't know what to expect. And for me, Kevin, personally, but I think we both love this show, and it kind of was a surprise. Another Amazon show, Upload. Just
loved Upload. Oh man,
charming,
so good.
Funny.
Yeah,
has a bit of everything.
Very creative. Is it Robbie Amell? Is that who he is?
Yeah, Robbie Amell, Stephen Amell's cousin.
Yeah, really, really good. And I am looking forward to the next season.
Yeah. But there's some personal things for me too that made 2020 a good year, and it's been a rough year. I'm not gonna lie. There's been some personal stuff going on with me that's made it hard. But I'm trying to, again, we're trying to look at the positive. For me, the year started off great. My football team, the Kansas City Chiefs, won the Super Bowl. The
You
big
got to
thing
share
about,
that with your father, which
yeah.
was the most important part.
Yeah, and that's to me, that was the big thing, is I got to watch that with my dad have that experience. Another sports thing for me, my hockey team, the Lightning, won the Stanley Cup. So a good sports year for me. But there's some other things too. One of my favorite shows, The Expanse, returns with season 5, and an announcement that there will be a 6th and final season in about a year's time. So I'm very happy about that. And one of the other things that I'm excited about is the streaming boom, Kevin. I'm not necessarily crazy about the decision Warner Brothers made with HBO Max, but what I'm loving is all the original content we probably would have never gotten if it wasn't for streaming.
Right.
And I'm just so excited about the possibilities that's going to bring for us. And
the streaming boom got a big kick in the butt this year because of COVID.
Yeah, if you're going to take something out of COVID, it's the streaming.
I think
boom.
what was going to be the near future is going to be the now.
Yeah. And then I would be remiss if I didn't mention my life-changing this past October, rescuing 2 7-week-old kittens, and they have been a wonderful companion for me as far as
they're so cute
through isolation, and they're wonderful, and they've kind of brought a new energy to me, and I just they've stolen my heart, and I've fallen in love with them. And their Uncle Kevin, I think, he would be here giving them tummy rubs if he could.
Oh, I would definitely. Jennifer says The Last Dance with great. I still need to watch that. I
agree with Jennifer. That was phenomenal, and it really filled a sports gap. That was it got so popular because it filled a gap when there was no sports going on.
Yeah, definitely. Regarding things that
Happy New Year to Scott Botman, by the way. He's stepping out of the chat room.
Thank you, Scott, for checking in. Appreciate you, man. Thank you. Happy New Year. Things personally for me, sports wise, it was great to see the Lakers win after what happened with Kobe Bryant. But also my Dodgers, I had to wait 32 years for another championship, and finally they won. And it got, 88 World Series seems such a long time ago.
Beat the Tampa Bay Rays with the hometown team here.
Yeah. But your Lightning got the championship, so that's good. The Old Guard, one of my favorite movies this year with Charlize Theron, and a really good immortal story, and I had a great discussion about that episode on Blood Kings with my co-host Lee, talking about the similarities with Highlander. And it was a very, very cool story. I loved it. I watched it several times, actually. Didn't live up to everyone's expectation, but I love the feeling and the emotion of Bill and Ted 3. It was one of the fun movies that came to us to stream and purchase and watch, and I enjoyed it. It was great to see them back together. It was a little bit of an emotional ride, but it was worth it, and I enjoyed it. The Tom Hanks movie Greyhound. Not a lot of people have seen this film, and it was a really good World War II drama. A very nice edit at an hour and a half, just like Bill and Ted. Love it. I will mention Mandalorian Season 2 again. This was my favorite thing about entertainment this year. It exceeded my expectations. Season 2, there was no sophomore slump in this. It just went boom, straight for it. And we got some wonderful returning characters in live action with Boba. Obviously Boba Fett was live action before, but specifically Bo-Katan and of course Ahsoka Tano, just awesome. But I did want to mention something that my fiance Erin turned me on to. Being a huge fan of The Boys, the guy that plays Homelander, Anthony Starr, starred in this series for about 4 seasons called Banshee. Freaking loving it.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. It's not one of those things where you have to think too much about it. It's got basically, a guy who comes out of prison and he takes the identity of a local sheriff, and his past comes back to haunt him. And there's, in this sleepy town of Banshee, Pennsylvania, I think it is, where there's the Amish people that are in there around there as well. And it's just got a bunch of just great stories. It's violent, that there's sex in it, and there's great characters, and it's just fun.
Yeah, no, absolutely a blast. Kevin, real quick, tell me one thing you're looking forward to in 2021.
Well, the first thing comes to mind is getting married. Don't know
Yeah.
when that's going to happen yet. That's it.
Yeah.
And I did want to mention real quick that being able to see my stepdaughter Camille during Thanksgiving before the next set of COVID lockdowns was also one of my great personal highlights. I've missed her. She's stayed in Georgia while I moved out here to be closer to my dad here in California. So I did want to mention that. But yeah, I miss Aaron, and I want to get married. There's a lot of entertainment that's coming that is also I'm looking forward to, but that is not high on the totem pole. Personal reasons, obviously.
Yeah,
So.
obviously, I can't match anything with that on a personal side. We are all family here at the Phantom Podcast Network. Aaron's part of the family. We want to see her and you finally get together. What we want to do is do a documentary series because the 5 hours you two will spend in the airport attached to each other. But
yeah, and I just want those comments afterwards, just like, okay, fine, you're married now, shut up.
Yeah, exactly. One thing I am on a fandom side looking very much forward to, though, in 2021 is a return to the MCU.
Yeah.
It's been a year now because of delays, and I actually think it was a good thing for the MCU. But I'm looking forward to WandaVision, Black Widow, Loki. Falcon Winter Soldier. Is number one on my list right now of all MCU stuff. We're gonna have Eternals. We're gonna have a lot of things. I'm looking forward to that. One more thing on a personal note too for me about 2020, and we've all been affected by COVID, the political situation, and I just want to say. We don't get into politics here on the Fandom Podcast Network. We've explained why. It's time to move forward, everybody. We have a change, whether you agree with it or not. The change is happening. Let's move forward. Let's put it behind us. But for me, if I'm going to take one thing out of 2020 on a fandom level that affected me greatly, I'm still feeling the loss of Chadwick Boseman. And I think once we get past the COVID and everything, and we think about the things we lost, that's going to be high on the list. This was a phenomenal human being first and foremost, and just what he had done for fandom. I just want to take a moment again to say thank you, Chadwick Boseman. So,
yep. Real quick, just regarding COVID too. I've seen people not taking it as seriously as they should, and I'd like to see people step up and take the precautions that they need.
Yeah, we're not done with COVID yet. We still got time, things to deal with it and stuff. So everybody, just stay safe, be kind, and respect each other, and not just in fandom but in life. And like we said, love each other, help each other, stand up. Kevin, you shaking your head.
I just didn't want to end about giving Jennifer some props there. She says, Orville Season 3. I said, that's high on my list too. Thank you for reminding me of that, Jen. And
if we get it in 2020.
Yeah. She says, going out to dinner, I mean, yes. Yeah. So there you go. Yeah. So thank you, Jennifer. Appreciate that.
Exactly.
Anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No.
Ending well. So there, anyway, go ahead.
Well, and one last thing. Next year is the 5-year mark for the Phantom Podcast Network.
That's right. Coming up next month, right?
Yeah. So next year's our 5-year anniversary already. So I want to take a moment. Obviously, my co-founder here, my brother, he's become my brother over this 5 years. Kevin, it's been a great trip. It's not anywhere near over.
Yep.
But it's been a blast. I got to give a special shout out to Norman C. Lau. Hopefully going to meet him in person finally in 2021. He's moving to my neck of the woods.
Yes.
So hopefully that's going to happen. We wouldn't be here without Norman's contributions. And obviously everybody from the guys over at What a Piece of Junk, Adam O'Brien, Dan Hadley, Lee Fillingsness, of course, the ladies over at Union Federation, Amy and Haley. We love you guys. We love all of you. You guys are our family. Good evening, Brandon Shea Matala, Tom Caldwell, Chris High. From Kevin and I, Happy New Year to not only the Fandom Podcast Network family, but to all you wonderful listeners who make this worthwhile for us doing. And
Kyle, this is my Mandalorian Darksaber. If you want to be the leader of my Mandalore, you're going to have to defeat me in combat.
I know how to do it. It's very simple. If I
How's
give you
that?
it, if I can manage to smuggle some, get a hold of that solo guy and get something smuggled out of Australia, just hand it over to me.
That would work.
Exactly.
Here it is, Kyle.
Yeah. On that
I
note,
yield.
on that note, too, Aaron, I love you. Get to this man soon. He needs you. Everybody, have a safe and happy New Year. Thank you for joining us here on
Happy
this
New Year's,
live
everyone.
culture.
Let's make it a
culture
better one.
clash. Yep.
Let's make it a better
Be
one.
safe. And as always, as we head into the new year, respect each other and enjoy your fandom. We love you guys. Thank you, chat.
By the way, Jen, I would love to take you out to dinner. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I want in on that.
What's up, Kat? How you doing?
And we are out on the record. What's up, Kat? Good
to see you guys.
to see everybody. Have a great New Year, everybody.
Hopefully we can see you in person. That would be nice.
Yeah. So thanks again, everybody. I'm going to end the live
Thanks, YouTube.
feed.
Appreciate you.
Thanks all you YouTube people. Stay safe.